If we move slowly, people will lose hope.
Pressing urgency in the race to rebuild Boulder County.
We need a group of people who is not the government.
Why one group fears people will leave for good if rebuilding efforts don't pick up speed.
Boulder strong, still strong.
The exhibit is supposed to reflect upon the sense of resiliency that our community has.
A new exhibit opens paying tribute to the lives lost in the King Super shooting.
Go-kart racing with a Colorado twist.
You never knew that you could have so much fun in a tiny car.
A new attraction giving thrill seekers a ride through Colorado's backcountry.
Boulder County residents calling for a sense of urgency in the Marshall Fire recovery.
Last night, Denver 7 brought you a story about the quick recovery in Colorado Springs after the Boulder Canyon fire in 2012. Well, after seeing our story, the community group called Superior Rising tells Denver 7 they want to see that same kind of speed happen in their community.
And today they talked with Denver 7's Russell Haythorne.
The night of the Marshall fire, John Heckman witnessed.
I came up behind and I saw the firefighters put the fire out.
Greatness.
There's nothing more humbling.
His home survived, his neighbors did not.
Her house is a total loss. My house, the siding and the roof are burnt.
But he's still out of his home as the recovery has been agonizingly slow for hundreds.
There's a lot of frustration for good reasons. It's when there's a government face that just doesn't have any empathy.
The urgency is absolute.
Superior Rising has officially filed for nonprofit status, and co-founder Neil Shaw and others meet here regularly, determined to speed up recovery.
We need a group of people who is not the government, because the government is not going to be the only solution here.
Superior Rising is now modeling itself after Colorado Springs Together, which Denver 7 featured this week.
If you don't get going right away, people get discouraged and they don't come back.
Colorado Springs Together managed to get new homes fully rebuilt just 11 months after the Boulder Canyon fire in 2012.
I look at Colorado Springs and their timelines for removing debris after 15 days. We're at day 45. We've only issued 3 permits to homeowners to remove their own debris. That's unacceptable.
Shaw says the focus is debris removal and closing insurance gaps right now, and eventually fire hardening homes with ignition-resistant materials.
It's absolutely tragic what we're witnessing right now.
To include moving away from wood fences.
Superior has a lot of open space. We also have a lot of wood fencing, which, for 30 years we never really gave a second thought to.
What Superior is promising not to do is tie things up with a lengthy debate over green rebuilding codes, like its neighbor to the northeast.
We basically made a decision at our board that we were not going to increase the cost for anyone that had to rebuild their homes. Government cannot be the reason why someone is not able to rebuild.
Heckman agrees. He and Shaw believe the vision of Superior Rising must be to work quickly.
There's a lot of great self-organization going on.
If we move slowly, people will lose hope, and they may choose to just buy a house somewhere else.
In Superior,
we got to drive efficiency.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
And Boulder County has extended its deadline for homeowners to take part in its debris removal program. That deadline was originally scheduled for midnight tonight, and it will now be midnight next Friday. People wanting to sign up for the program will need to complete a right of entry form, and those can be found on Boulder County's website. And the Small Business Administration says it's now approved more than $75 million in disaster recovery loans for people impacted by the Marshall Fire. More than $71 million has been approved for homeowners and renters. Another $4 million has been given to businesses and private nonprofits. The SBA says the deadline for applying for physical disaster loans is March 1st. Meanwhile, a fundraiser will be held tomorrow to help those who lost everything. Over the past several weeks, local sheriff's departments and Lucero's Tavern have been gathering essential items like clothing and toiletries for wildfire victims. And those items will be distributed tomorrow from 1 to 5 at the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge in Westminster.
President Biden now says he is convinced that Russian President Vladimir Putin has decided to invade Ukraine.
We have reason to believe the Russian forces are planning to and intend to attack Ukraine in the coming week, in the coming days. We believe that they will target Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, a city of 2.8 million innocent people.
The U.S. says Russia has placed 190,000 troops and Kremlin-backed separatists along Ukraine's borders. And Putin has repeatedly denied that Russia plans to attack. But the U.S. believes Moscow is planning to stage a false flag operation in order to justify an invasion. President Biden says diplomacy will stay on the table until Russia invades.
We're calling out Russia's plans loudly and repeatedly, not because we want a conflict, but because we're doing everything in our power to remove any reason that Russia may give to justify invading Ukraine and prevent them from moving.
And the president says the U.S. will not send troops into Ukraine if Russia moves forward with an invasion. Instead, he says Moscow will be hit with severe economic sanctions by the U.S. and its European allies. And amid the speculation of this invasion, Russia is planning to hold nuclear drills that will be overseen by President Putin. Russia holds these drills annually, but usually they take place in the fall. When asked today, President Biden says he does not believe Russia would use nuclear weapons during an assault on Ukraine.
More fallout for the Douglas County School District, now looking for a new superintendent. Former Superintendent Corey Wise has obtained legal counsel to potentially sue the district. Wise was fired 2 weeks ago by the school's board's conservative majority. And attorneys representing Wise have requested the district preserve all evidence related to his firing. Now, this comes as the school board searches for his replacement, and the district will be taking applications through next Friday, and a vote on a finalist could happen early next month. It is back to the drawing board as Colorado lawmakers move forward with putting a fence around the state capitol. Today, lawmakers went on a field trip of sorts outside the capitol to see a mock section of the fence. However, lawmakers didn't like the spikes on top or the Colorado insignia attached to the bars. Now, both lawmakers and designers say it is vital to protect the capitol while making sure it remains accessible.
And that's a lot of the conversations that we're having right now. We're talking about making sure that we allow the access, that we make people feel welcome here, but yet address the historic character of this property.
And discussions about putting a fence around the Capitol began in the summer of 2020 when protesters caused millions in damage to the building.
Next month will mark 1 year since tragedy struck Boulder.
10 innocent lives taken when a gunman opened fire at the Table Mesa King Soopers. Denver 7's CB Cotton was in Boulder today for the opening of a new exhibit honoring those lives and the resiliency of the community.
If you're looking for those who help, this room would be the place to start.
And to be counted as one of those meant the world to me, and I thought, I want to do this. I want to be part of this.
This is the latest exhibit at the Boulder Museum, debuting Friday evening, entitled Boulder Strong, Still Strong. The exhibit features artifacts that were collected after the Boulder King Super shooting and about 70 portraits of some people who were in some way impacted by the tragedy. Craig Christopher, a victim's advocate, is featured too.
It's a place for healing. It's a place for connecting. It's a place to remember.
The concept for the exhibit began immediately after the shooting.
This is a moment in Boulder's history, and even though we wish it hadn't happened, it's part of our history now.
So Chelsea Pennington Hahn, the curator, made sure to preserve as many mementos as she could.
I was there, almost every day for the 2.5 months after it happened, and there were so many times where it was heavy being out there.
The weight of this work felt heavy for photographer Ross Taylor too, as he captured each portrait.
It is important to remember the individual in this experience, and the portraits enable an opportunity to focus on each person and to hear and to think about their experience.
The Boulder King Soopers tragedy left so many feeling broken, but this exhibit will help people mend.
I think it can be therapeutic and healing to be recognized, and I think there's real power in being seen and being heard.
And reminds us that in every circumstance, we can always find those who've helped. Now, the exhibit will run through April 10th. Museum leaders tell us at some point they hope to incorporate a portion of the exhibit into their permanent collection. In Boulder, I'm CB Cotton, Denver 7.
Students at Evergreen High School are celebrating a successful end to Wish Week, a week-long fundraiser for Make-A-Wish Colorado. This year, Evergreen students rallied behind 10-year-old Sloan, and she was there this afternoon as students tackled an obstacle course during an all-school assembly.
Her favorite TV show is also American Ninja Warrior, so that's what you'll see today, the kids putting on a Ninja Warrior course in honor of her favorite TV show.
And get this, Evergreen students had a goal of $7,000 while they raised $8,000 for Make-A-Wish Colorado. Students at Chatfield and Overland High Schools also took part in Wish Week.
You better enjoy a mild and dry weekend. This cold front is going to change everything starting Monday.
Racing through the backcountry.
They're fast, and you can really just full throttle haul on these things.
After the break on Denver 7, we're taking a trip to Aspen for a look at a new sport, ice cart racing.
First the Bucks and then the Rams. All-in approaches have proven effective in the NFL. Coming up, our insiders debate if the Broncos should follow that path too.